Hello, this is Chris Orlob. If you're a SaaS seller and you struggle to get access to power to close your SaaS deals, or if you sometimes get access to power, but you struggle to keep access to power, then this video is for you. I'm going to teach you 3 simple lessons that'll help you get and keep access to power in your SaaS deals. But first, a story. So a few weeks ago, at the time of this recording, I was doing a discovery call with a seasoned chief revenue officer. Okay, so we were talking about a $70,000 SaaS deal, and I had access to power. The chief revenue officer represents access to power in my kind of deal, so I thought I had it made. But he almost punted me down to the HR director. Now, here's how I turned the situation around, and then I'll tell you these 3 tips that I told you about a couple minutes ago. So he said, we do need better sales interviewing so that we can hire better reps. Talk to our HR director and we'll go from there. And I said, sure, but before you bow out, can I ask you a few questions? And impatiently, he kind of said, yeah, what? So I said, our platform does help with better interviewing, but it's arguably the least interesting aspect of what we do. What's going on in your business to drive the need for better sales interviewing? And he said, well, we have a high first-year attrition rate. 40% of reps we hire don't make it 12 months. Okay, so now we're starting to get somewhere as far as deeper pain goes. I said, okay, well, bear with me on this. I get why that would matter intrinsically, but why does it matter for you? Is there something bigger at play beyond rehiring and re-ramping just being a pain? Like, what is really driving you to solve this challenge right now? And he said, we have big 2023 hiring plans. Keep in mind, at the time of this conversation, it was early Q4 2022. He says, we have big 2023 hiring plans. We don't have a snowball's chance in hell of hitting our 2023 annual number if we're attriting 40% of our people. Okay, so I said, I imagine your ELT, executive leadership team, and maybe even your board made the decision on those hiring plans and to grow that aggressively. What drove that decision? You can see I've peeled probably 3 or 4 layers deeper than what he initially shared with me. So I said, what drove that decision to hire that aggressively? And he said, well, we're in a race with our top competitor. It's a head-to-head horse race type market dynamic. He said, we're in a head-to-head horse race with our top competitor for market share. So we have to swarm the market. We have to cover every territory with AEs so we can lock in market share before they do, because market share tends to be semi-permanent in our space. So after a few more minutes of this, he agreed to quote unquote stick with me, and he agreed to sponsor this deal instead of bowing out like he planned on doing at the beginning of the conversation, where his perceived value was just better interviewing. Okay, now his perceived value was capturing and winning market share, which is something that makes its way into his consciousness as a C-level executive. Better interviewing is not something a C-level executive thinks about very often. So here are 3 lessons to take away from this story and from this conversation that'll help you get and keep access to power in your SaaS deals. So lesson number 1, you will get relegated to the person who owns the problem you're solving. And the beauty is, you can redefine the scope and the definition of the problem you're solving with great discovery techniques. So if the definition of the problem that I'm solving is better interviews, well, the CRO is going to punt me to the HR director. Now, if the definition of the problem I'm solving for him or her is a race for market share, now I've got the C-suite in my corner. I've got the CRO, the CMO, maybe even the CEO. So you'll get relegated to the person who owns the problem you're solving, and the problem you're solving, you can influence it. You can define the scope. Now, lesson number 2, the best way to access power is to solve a more strategic problem and to be fluent in how you discuss that problem. Okay, so the best way to access power is to solve a more strategic problem. Interviewing or better interviewing, tactical problem they don't think about very much. Power doesn't think about that very often, and HR director does. Market share, in a land grab market dynamic, they think about it when they wake up, when they're having breakfast, when they're having lunch, as they go to sleep at night. That is something that dominates their mind share, and their consciousness. Okay, so that leads to number 3. The best way to find that strategic problem that I'm talking about is to peel back the layers of the onion, 2 to 3, maybe even 3 to 5 layers against the current problem you're solving. Okay, strategic problems hide at the center, at the core. Remember, the first layer I was dealing with in the story was we need better interviews. Why do you need better interviews? So that you can avoid mishiring. Why do you need to avoid mishiring? So you can hit your 2023 headcount plans. Why do you need to hit your 2023 headcount and revenue plans? Because we're in a race for market share against our biggest competitor. And whoever captures the most market share is going to keep it for life. Okay, so you have to dig. So if this resonated with you and you want to learn how to do world-class deal closing discovery techniques, you can join over 2,000 SaaS sellers learning to create urgency from thin air, learning to find business pain that money follows, learning to get their customers to run through walls, and ultimately selling their way through this economic meltdown successfully and crushing their number as a result. Start closing more SaaS deals today. Go to pclub.io/discovery. Go there now, and I'll see you in the next video.